After Sanan-san collapsed, the captains rushed into the room. They must have heard the commotion from the common room. Everything glowed white after, and I realized that I was in a daze. None of their words stuck in my ear, and I wobbled back to my room.
まったく手間がかかる子だよね、君って。
Okita had taken me back to my room, and I heard him as soon as he opened the door for me.
説明してくれるかな。どうして三男さんと一緒にいたの？
Okita was never particularly pleasant to me, but his tone was even harsher than usual. I felt like there was someone in the common room. I was curious, so I had a look. I found Sanan-san in there. Okita lackadaisical. Lackadaisical response seemed disarming, and he just scanned me. Although my mind had cleared somewhat, it was still difficult to keep my thoughts organized. One, however, rose quickly to the surface. Is it true that my father had something to do with that? That stuff that Sanan-san drank?
三男さんから聞いたの？それ。あの薬についても。
He said it makes you stronger, but it drives you mad. He fixed his eyes wearily on the ceiling above us, sighing before eventually answering my question.
君は薬をここに持ち込んだ人の娘だし、狂った大使とも実際に会ってるし。少しぐらいなら聞かせてあげてもいいかな。本当なら殺しちゃいたいところだけど。
His manner of speaking was far removed than his usual joking self when he mentioned killing, but this time it felt like he meant it. He could kill me at any time.
薬のことについて何か質問ある？一つくらいなら答えてあげるけど。
No. I desperately searched for the words. Why did the Shinsugumi get involved in something like this?
僕たちの役目は今日を騒がせる不逞浪士を取り締まることだけど、簡単な仕事じゃないっていうことぐらい君にだってわかるよね。
Among the Ronin, there are plenty that are actually skilled swordsmen. When I was on rounds, I saw many such men fighting and dueling amongst themselves.
今日に来たばかりの頃はとにかく人手が足りなくてね。僕たちの名前なんて全然知られてないし、給金だって満足に出なかったからさ。入隊希望者なんてめったにいないし、たまに来ても得体の知れないゴロつきばっかり。そんな時、幕府の人が薬の実験を持ちかけてきたんだ。
An experiment. That must have been what Sanan-san was referring to. Well, you knew what the side effects were, and you still made them take it?
もちろん、彼らも承知の上だよ。新選組にはね、局中ハットっていうのがあるんだ。隊をまとめるための決まりみたいなものなんだけど、それに背くと即切腹を申し付けられる。
Cut yourself open?
あれ？何驚いてるの？武士の責任の取り方って言えば切腹しかないじゃない。
Traditionally, when samurai disgraced themselves, they drove their swords into their bellies. I had thought such traditions were obsolete, and that now the worst they do is pretend to cut themselves open with a fan.
でもまあ、どうせ死んじゃうんだし、最後にもう一度役に立ってもらった方がいいでしょ。だから、 切腹するか薬を飲むか好きな方を選んでもらうことにしたんだ。かわいそうだよね、本当に。
I couldn't think of anything to say. What sort of choice was that? Death by your own hand or madness and death by someone else's? The men that I'd encountered that winter night, had their last thoughts as men been hoped they might survive the madness? It sounded horrible.
簡単に強くなれる薬があれば便利だよね。実際は全然大したことなかったんだけど、僕たちでも簡単に切っちゃえるぐらい。
In a moment, I was taken back to that fateful night when Okuta dispatched the warriors with white hair without any effort.
三男さんはこれからどうなるんだろうね。
I was worried too. Was Sanan-san okay? Would he change? My stomach was twisting itself into knots. And so the long night broke, and we have this scene before. Move to a new month. It's now June of 1865. Ugh. How far can we go now? Da 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 da. Hey, Yamazaki. We're gonna go back to headquarters, apparently. Yep. I pressed. Oh, wait. Hold on. Wait. No. Back.
もう大丈夫だ。さすがにここまで追ってはこれまい。
But is the actual correct answer. But
不安なところ申し訳ないが、俺は副長たちのところへ戻らなくてはならない。皆将軍校の警護に出ているから、今の屯所に大使はほとんど残っていない。沖田さんか東堂さんのところにいるのがいいだろう。そこが最も安全だ。
okay, understood.
では、後のことは頼んだぞ。
With that, he disappeared back into the darkness. Suddenly, the night felt very quiet. The word demon echoed through my head, and their faces floated in front of my eyes. I shook my head. As the temple came back into focus, I felt very, very alone. As Yamazaki said, I should go find Okita or Heisuke. But whom should I look for? The answer is obviously Heisuke, because we're doing Heisuke's route. The night compounds that I'm so used to felt like a place I didn't know. Nearly all of the members of the Shinsengumi left to guard the shogun, which meant the compound was still cold and oddly silent. So when I spotted Heisuke, I was quite relieved. Heisuke?
あれ、なんでここにいるんだ？将軍の警護は終わったのか？
Actually, I didn't know where to start. Stumbling over my words more often than not, I poured out the whole story. At the mention of Amagiri, the man who wounded Heisuke at Ikeda, he scowled.
あいつが二条城に。しかもお前を迎えに来たって。人違いじゃねえのか。お前にそっくりな誰かと勘違いしてるとか。
I don't think so. I don't know how, but they knew my name.
そっか。なんか気味が悪いよな。
Creepy, creepy, creepy. It's alright though. It's alright now though. But I'm alright now, right?
ああ。ここにいる限り心配はいらねえよ。俺がついてるからさ。
Thanks. He pounded his chest with one fist and grinned. I felt a little better. There was something about his bravado that was somehow comforting. But, wait. I thought you didn't feel well. Shouldn't you be resting inside? Or better yet, I'll prepare some medicine.
実はさ、違うんだよ。調子が悪いわけじゃなくて。
Kato? What? Why? He looked at me for a moment, then shook his head in defeat.
ただ、警護に行きたくなかったんだ。
What do you mean you didn't want to go? Why? Heisuke seemed to be unsure whether to open up, and he looked up at the night sky for a moment. Eventually, he slowly but quietly continued speaking.
近藤さんとか土方さんは幕府とか家持公のことをすごく尊敬してるけど、俺はとてもそうは思えなくてさ。
What do you mean by that? I was in disbelief that he would admit to such a thing, so I had to ask.
お前はしばらく江戸に戻ってねえからわからねえのかもしれねえけど、今の江戸はさ、偉人が我が物顔でいろんな建物を建ててて、なのに幕府の役人はそのことを全然気にしてねえみてえでさ、本気で上位をするつもりがあるのか、江戸に住む人たちを守るつもりなんてねえんじゃねえかって思っちまって、こんな状況で将軍上洛って言われてもいろいろ引っかかっちまってさ。それにお前も聞いたんだろ、例の薬の話。
My heart pounded. I did.
あれもさ、もともとは幕府の命令なんだよな。近藤さんたちは頑張って実績を積めば幕府もいずれ認めてくれるって思い込んでるけど、このまま便利にこき使われて捨てられる降参の方が高いんじゃねえかな。
Heisuke.
誤解しないでくれよ。俺別に近藤さんや土方さんのやり方に不満があるわけじゃねえんだ。やっぱりあの人たちのことは好きだし、ついて生きてって思ったからこうやって一緒に今日に登ってきたんだし。
Heisuke's eyes were filled with confusion and pain, and it hurt my heart seeing them. To be in the predicament of not knowing what's right or wrong, and how to confront being loyal to something you don't believe in. So was that why you invited Ito to the Shinsengumi?
ああ、伊藤さんは政治とか世の中のことに詳しいし、人脈もあるし、タイをいい方向に導いてくれるんじゃねえかって思って。少なくとも今よりは。
As any group grows, it must begin to accept people with differing viewpoints. Size and human nature simply decree it cannot be tightly focused forever. So long as the Shinsengumi fought in the front lines of any war, it will lose friends to death. But how many might it lose, I wondered, to differences of opinion? I did my best to put the thought from my mind. Enjoy the present. Don't worry about the future. That was what I truly believed, and I quietly looked up at the starry sky. Since then, once the rest of the men returned, there was a meeting among the captains. Alright, we can skip this. Who am I? We get to skip a lot. Hey, Yamazaki! It's always like a Wooga again. Next one, the guide says, it's not any of my business. Like, zooming through this chapter, apparently. Hey, boys, what you here for? Or are you here to protect me, right? Da, 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 da. Fuck. I did it again. Why do I keep doing this? So the question's on my head. The thing we're asking is my father. What did become of my father? Did my father really betray the Shogun? I thought he was working for the Shogun. And how was Cosmo so familiar with my father? The more I thought about it, the more I realized just how little I actually knew.
まあ別に尊上派って言っても全員が全員長州老士みたいな奴らじゃねえしさ。そもそもあの風間ってやつが本当のことを言ってるとも限らねえだろ。もしかしたらお前の動揺を誘うために言ってるのかもしれねえし。
そうだな。裏を取らねえ情報を鵜呑みにするのは危険だぜ。
I suppose.
行動さん探しには観察型も動いている。いずれまた情報も入るだろう。
Thank you. As I put the water bottle down. Oh my god, my room has gotten darker. I think the sun has hidden away. I hadn't really expected any of them to be so nice to me. It was a pleasant surprise. The only reason they allowed me to stay was because I was my father's daughter. That hadn't changed. But...
とりあえず行動さんが生きてるってことが分かっただけでもよかったじゃねえか。なんか分かったら俺たちもすぐ教えるからさ。無理すんなよ。
Of course. Thank you. Their words, Heisuke's especially, brightened my spirits a bit. From then on, Matsumoto-sensei visited the compound regularly to check up on the men of the Shinsengumi. Ever since Sana-san had become the leader of the Furies, the group was named as the Fury Corps. So... okay.